The first time I died, it wasn't because I had enemies. It wasn't because I had done something terrible. It was because I spent most of my life being afraid of one tiny word. No, I couldn't say it. Not to my coworkers, not to my friends, and especially not to my roommate, Sienna. By the time I finally learned how powerful that word was, my mother and father were dead. My reputation was destroyed. Thousands of strangers hated me. And the woman I had spent years helping was smiling while my entire life burned around me. But somehow, I was given another chance. And this time, the first thing Sienna asked me for was money. 3 years earlier, Sienna and I had moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment together. Back then, I genuinely thought she was my best friend. She wanted to become a professional model. She was beautiful, confident, ambitious, and incredibly good at making people believe she was destined for something bigger. There was only one problem. She never had money. At least, that was what she told me. Amara, once my modeling career takes off, I swear I'm paying you back for everything. She said that sentence so many times that I stopped questioning it. At first, everything really did seem harmless. $40 for her nails, $80 for her lashes. Then came her hair appointments, facial skin treatments, professional makeup, spray tans, teeth whitening, expensive skincare products. Whenever I hesitated, her face would fall. You know appearance is part of my career, right? I know. So this isn't me wasting money. I didn't say that. You don't have to. Then I would feel guilty. And eventually, I would pull out my card. That was who I was. The girl who apologized when someone else stepped on her foot. The girl who worked overtime because coworkers had weekend plans. The daughter who told her parents everything was fine because I never wanted them worrying about me. And the friend who would rather lose $500 than make someone uncomfortable by saying no. Sienna knew that. She knew it better than anyone. And she used it. The treatment that destroyed my first life cost me $1,850. I remember staring at the payment screen. $1,800? Sienna rolled her eyes. Amara, please don't start. I'm not starting anything. You promised you would help me. I said I would help with your appointment. This is my appointment. She was having several cosmetic treatments done before what she called the biggest modeling opportunity of her life. I had already paid our electricity bill alone that month. She owed me 2 months of her share of the internet, and I had less than $4,000 left in savings. I should have said no. God, I wish I'd said no. Instead, I handed over my card. Thank you. She hugged me immediately. You're literally the best friend anyone could ask for. That evening, everything went wrong. Sienna called me screaming. Her face had swollen badly after one of the treatments. She ended up requiring medical attention. I was terrified for her. I stayed beside her. I bought her medication. I contacted the clinic I cooked for her. I even took several days away from work because she said she couldn't cope alone. Then, one morning, I woke up to 187 notifications. At first, I thought something had happened to her. Sienna had posted a video, and she had blamed me. The video began with her crying into the camera. Her face was still visibly affected. I wasn't going to talk about this. She sniffled, but people deserve to know what happened to me. My stomach tightened, then she said my name. My roommate Amara pressured me into getting the treatment. I stopped breathing. She claimed I had told her she wasn't attractive enough to model. She claimed I constantly criticized her appearance. She claimed I chose the clinic. She claimed I pushed her into increasingly aggressive treatments, and then she delivered the sentence that destroyed me. If anything permanent happens to my face, Amara is responsible. The video exploded. Hundreds of thousands of views became millions. Then people found my accounts, my workplace, my parents, my phone number, my photographs. Messages poured in. Monster jealous freak. You ruined that girl's face. You deserve everything coming to you. Sienna became the beautiful, aspiring model whose jealous roommate had destroyed her confidence. And I became the villain. I begged her to tell the truth. You asked me to pay for those treatments. She stared at me coldly. You still paid. What? You could have said no. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You begged me, Sienna. And you agreed. You told everyone I forced you. She shrugged. I never held a gun to your head. That was when I understood. She wasn't confused. She wasn't emotional because of what happened. She knew exactly what she was doing. The harassment became worse. People called my workplace demanding I be fired. Strangers created accounts dedicated to humiliating me. Someone posted my parents' names online. My mother called me crying, "We know you, sweetheart." "Mom, please stay out of it." "We're your parents." "That's exactly why I'm asking you." My father was furious. He wanted to defend me publicly. I begged him not to, but my parents couldn't watch their daughter being destroyed. They posted a short video. They said I had spent years financially supporting Sienna. They said they had seen bank transfers, receipts, messages asking me for money. They asked people to stop threatening me. Instead, the internet turned on them too. 2 days later, my parents were driving home when they were followed by people who had recognized their car after their information was posted online. Dad called me. I could hear Mom in the background. "Someone's following us." "Dad, call the police." "I am." Then I heard my mother scream. The phone went dead. Their car crashed. Neither of them survived. Something inside me died with them. I stopped eating properly. I stopped sleeping. I lost my job after someone repeatedly contacted clients about me. And Sienna? She moved out. Her followers increased, brands started contacting her. She gave interviews about surviving a toxic friendship. People praised her courage. One night, I sat alone in my parents' empty house, staring at my mother's photograph. I finally opened an old folder containing bank statements and screenshots. For the first time, I counted everything. 3 years. Hair, nails, facials. Makeup, skin treatments, photo shoots, clothes, rent, groceries, transport. I had spent over $38,000 supporting Sienna, and I had almost nothing left. I laughed, then I started crying. "You were right, Mum." She had warned me once. Helping someone was kind. Destroying yourself to keep them happy wasn't. I hadn't understood the difference. My phone suddenly buzzed. Another message from a stranger. I didn't even read it. I walked outside because I needed air. I remember crossing the road. I remember headlights, a horn, then darkness. "Amara." I opened my eyes. My heart slammed against my chest. "Amara." I sat upright. Sunlight was pouring through my bedroom curtains. My hands were shaking. I touched my face, my chest, my arms. No blood, no hospital, no pain. Then my bedroom door opened. Sienna walked inside, alive, perfectly healthy, wearing the fluffy pink robe I hadn't seen in years. I screamed. She jumped. "What the hell?" I backed against my headboard. For several seconds, I couldn't speak. Then she rolled her eyes. "Anyway, you're going to kill me." My stomach turned at those words. She held up her phone. My card declined. I slowly looked toward my bedside table. My phone was there. I grabbed it. The date appeared on the screen. My blood went cold. I knew this date. I was 3 years in the past. My parents were alive. My job was safe. My reputation was untouched. And Sienna hadn't destroyed me yet. She sat on the edge of my bed. "I need you to pay for my hair today." I stared at her. She continued talking like nothing had happened. "And my lashes." Silence. "And I booked a facial because I have that casting next week." My hand stopped shaking. "How much?" Her smile returned. "Only $640. Only. In my previous life, I remembered this exact morning I had complained about the price she had sulked. I had apologized, then I paid. Not this time. I looked directly into the eyes of the woman who would one day destroy my name, the woman whose lies would eventually cost my parents their lives, the woman who had built her dream using my inability to say no. And strangely, I didn't feel angry. I felt calm. Sienna. No. She blinked. "What?" "I'm not paying." She laughed. "No, seriously, Amara. My appointment is at 11. "I know. So transfer it." "No." Her smile slowly disappeared. "You have the money. That doesn't make it yours." She stared at me like I had suddenly started speaking another language. "Are you mad at me?" "No." "Then what's your problem?" For the first time in my life, I didn't explain myself. I didn't apologize. I didn't create an excuse. I simply repeated it. "No." She stood up. Wow. There it was. The guilt. The disappointed expression, the little shake of her head, the same performance that had cost me thousands in my previous life. "You know, modeling is my career." "Then your career should pay for your treatments." Her mouth dropped open. "Excuse me." "You heard me." She stared at me for several seconds, then her expression changed. Only for a moment, but I saw it. The softness disappeared. The helpless roommate disappeared. Something colder looked back at me. Then she smiled again. Okay. That scared me more than the anger would have. She walked toward the door, then stopped. Don't worry, Amara. She looked over her shoulder. I won't ask you for anything again. In my previous life, those words would have sent me running after her. I would have apologized. I would have transferred $700 just to make sure she wasn't upset. Instead, I smiled. Perfect. She slammed the door. I immediately grabbed my phone. There was one person I needed to call. My fingers shook as I found the number Mum. She answered on the third ring. Hello? The moment I heard her voice, everything inside me collapsed. Mum? Amara? What's wrong? I covered my mouth. She was alive. My mother was alive. Sweetheart, I started crying. Nothing. I wiped my face. Nothing's wrong. Then why are you crying? I laughed through my tears because I really wanted to hear your voice. She went quiet. Then she laughed softly. You frightened me. Sorry. And then I stopped. Sorry. That word had controlled my first life almost as much as yes. I took a breath. Mum. Yes? I love you. I love you too. After we hung up, I opened my banking app, then my email. Then every account Sienna had ever known about, I changed my passwords. I removed saved cards. I turned on additional security. Then I opened my lease agreement. My eyes moved across the page. 2 weeks, that was all I needed. 2 weeks to organize somewhere else to live. Because, this time, I wasn't staying beside Sienna long enough for her to destroy me. I thought refusing to pay for her beauty treatments would be the beginning and end of my revenge. I was wrong, because 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Sienna had posted something. A black screen with white writing. It's crazy how some people only support your dreams when they can control you. My stomach tightened, then another post appeared. The moment you stop letting someone feel superior to you, you discover who they really are. People were already replying. Who is this about? Girl, expose her. Is it your roommate? I stared at the screen. In my first life, her campaign against me had begun after the treatment went wrong. This time, I had changed the future. And Sienna had started attacking me 3 years early. I slowly took a screenshot. Then another, then another. In my previous life, I cried when she lied about me. I begged when people attacked me. I deleted evidence because looking at it hurt too much. This time, I created a folder. I named it Sienna, Evidence. Then I saved every single post. Because Sienna didn't know something yet, I wasn't the same woman she had destroyed. I remembered everything, and this time, before she could turn the whole world against me, I was going to learn how to protect myself. By the next morning, Sienna's post had disappeared, but my screenshots hadn't. That was the first difference between the old me and the woman I had become. The old me trusted people to eventually do the right thing. The new me kept receipts. I barely slept that night. Every few hours, I checked my phone. Part of me expected to wake up back in my parents' empty house. Or worse, back on that road. But morning came, and I was still 3 years in the past. I called Mum again just to hear her voice. Then Dad answered, Your mother says you've called twice in 24 hours. I laughed. Am I not allowed to miss my parents? You usually miss us when you need food. I smiled so hard my cheeks hurt. God, I had missed him. Dad? Yeah? Don't ever argue with strangers online for me. There was a pause. What? Nothing. Amara, are you okay? I will be. That was a promise, not just to him, to myself. This time, they were staying out of Sienna's mess. When I walked into the kitchen, Sienna was sitting at the counter drinking coffee. She didn't look at me. I didn't look at her either. I made toast, then she sighed dramatically. Once, twice. By the third sigh, I almost laughed. Finally, she spoke. I had to cancel my appointment yesterday. I buttered my toast. Okay. That's all you're going to say? What would you like me to say? She turned toward me. I lost my deposit. Then you shouldn't book appointments you can't afford? Her face changed. You're being really weird. Maybe I was. Yesterday. I would have apologized today. I was discussing personal responsibility before breakfast. I've been thinking about my finances. I kept my voice calm. From now on, we're splitting everything properly. She stared at me. What does that mean? Half the rent? I already pay rent? Sometimes. Her eyes narrowed. Half the electricity. I continued. Half the internet, Half the household supplies and your own groceries. Are you serious? Yes. And beauty appointments? Yours. Clothes for castings? Yours. Transport? Yours. She gave a short laugh. So, basically, you're abandoning me. There it was. I had stopped giving her money less than 24 hours ago. And somehow, that was abandonment. Sienna, you're 26. So I'm your roommate, not your mother. She slammed her coffee mug down. You know how hard modeling is. Then maybe you need another job while you're building your career. Her eyes flashed. Not everyone wants to sit behind a desk for the rest of their life, Amara. That hurt because she knew I secretly wanted to start my own event planning company. In my first life, comments like that kept me small. This time, I took another bite of toast. Then I hope modeling works out. She waited for me to react. I didn't. Eventually, she grabbed her bag and left. The front door slammed. I checked the time, 8:12. Then I opened my laptop. I had 13 days left. I started searching for apartments during my lunch break. That was when I ran into Elias Bennett. Literally, I walked around the corner staring at a rental listing and crashed straight into him. My coffee spilled across his shirt. Oh my God, I froze Elias. In my previous life, I had avoided this man during the final months of my career because Sienna told me he hated me. She said he had called me incompetent. She said he was jealous of my promotion. She even told me he was the person who reported me. I believed every word. Now he was standing in front of me, with coffee dripping down his white shirt. Apparently rebirth didn't improve my coordination. I'm so sorry. He looked at his shirt, then at me. I was wondering how to make this meeting more interesting. I stared at him, then laughed. He smiled. It was strange seeing that smile again. I remembered him differently. Serious, cold, dangerous. That was how Sienna had described him, but standing in front of me now, he just looked amused. I'll pay for the dry cleaning. Absolutely not. Please. Amara, it's coffee. I blinked. You know my name? We've worked on the same floor for 8 months. Right? I felt ridiculous. He pointed toward my phone. Apartment hunting? My screen was still open. I quickly locked it. Maybe moving? Definitely. Something in my voice made his smile disappear. Everything okay? For one dangerous second, I wanted to tell him everything, that I had died, that my parents had died, that my roommate was going to destroy my life. Instead, I nodded. Everything's going to be fine. He studied me, then handed me a business card. My cousin manages a small apartment building. I looked at it. He might have something available. Why are you helping me? Elias raised an eyebrow. Because you attacked me with coffee. I laughed again. Consider it compensation. Then he walked away. I stared at the card. In my first life, I had believed Elias was my enemy. Now, less than 48 hours after being reborn, he had handed me the exact thing I needed. Maybe I hadn't known anyone as well as I thought. That evening, I called the number 3 days later. I signed a lease. It wasn't glamorous. The apartment was smaller. The kitchen looked 20 years old, and the bedroom barely fit my bed. I loved it because it would be mine. My name, my money, my peace. I didn't tell Sienna. Not yet. Instead, I quietly started packing things she wouldn't notice. Documents, jewelry, sentimental items, my passport, my parents' photographs. Anything important went to Mum and Dad's house first. Then I removed myself from every shared subscription. I separated our bills. I photographed everything I owned. And every night I backed up my evidence folder. I thought I was being careful. I still made a mistake. A big one, I left my laptop unlocked while I showered. When I returned, Sienna was standing beside my desk. My heart stopped. What are you doing? She turned, looking for my charger. In my bedroom. You borrowed it last week. No, I hadn't. I walked toward the laptop. The screen showed my email. Nothing looked unusual, but I remembered my first life. Sienna had known things she shouldn't have known. Work information, private conversations, appointments, passwords. Back then, I thought I was careless. Now I wondered if carelessness had nothing to do with it. Get out of my room. She blinked. Excuse me? Please leave. She stared at me, then smiled. That same strange smile from the morning I refused her money. "Relax, Amara." She walked past me. "You're getting paranoid." The door closed. I immediately checked my browsing history. Nothing recent files, nothing email activity, nothing. Then I checked my sent folder. Still nothing. Maybe she really had been looking for a charger. Maybe my memories were making me suspicious of everything. Then I noticed something. My rental confirmation email had been opened. I knew I hadn't opened it since that morning. Sienna knew she didn't mention it for 2 days. Then, on Friday night, she came home carrying shopping bags, expensive ones, new shoes, a new dress makeup. She walked through the lounge like she was on a runway. I stared at the bags. "I thought you didn't have money." She smiled. "I don't." "Then who paid for that?" She shrugged. "Someone who actually believes in me?" I should have ignored her. Instead, I made my first emotional mistake. "Who?" Her smile widened. "Why?" "No reason." "You seem jealous?" I laughed. "Of what?" "Someone finally treating me the way I deserve." She disappeared into her bedroom. An hour later, she posted photographs wearing the new dress. The caption read, "When one door closes, upgrade the whole house." I screenshotted it. Then something caught my attention. In one photograph, a man's hand was visible on the table. A silver watch, black cuff, and a gold card beside his glass. I zoomed in. My stomach tightened. I had seen that card before, but I couldn't remember where. Not yet. Exactly 14 days after I was reborn, I moved out. Sienna stood in the hallway, watching the movers carry my boxes. She had known it was coming. Still, she looked furious. "So, you're seriously leaving?" "Yes." "Because I asked you for help?" "No." "Then why?" "Because you destroyed my life. Because my parents died because of your lies. Because I died hating myself for trusting you. Instead, I said, I think living separately will be healthier for both of us." She laughed bitterly. "Wow." I kept walking. "You've changed." I stopped. She was right. I turned around. "I have." Her expression softened. For a second, she looked like the old Sienna, my friend, the woman I had shared birthdays and late-night conversations with, Amara. Her voice became quiet. "I really thought you'd be there when my career started taking off." That sentence almost worked. Almost then, I remembered my mother's funeral. I picked up my final box. "I hope your career goes well." Her eyes hardened. "You don't mean that." "I do." "I think you want me to fail?" "No, Sienna." I looked directly at her. "I just don't want to pay for your success anymore." Then I left. My first night in my new apartment should have felt peaceful. Instead, at 23:47, my phone began vibrating. Again. Again, I opened Instagram. Sienna was live. Thousands of people weren't watching this time, only 214. But I knew how quickly 214 could become 2 million. She was crying, "I've been scared to talk about this." My blood went cold. Not again. I've had someone very close to me constantly make me feel guilty about pursuing modeling. I started screen recording. She used money to control me. I couldn't believe it. She would offer to help me, then hold it over my head. Comments started appearing. "Who? Is this your old roommate? Expose her." Sienna wiped her eyes. "I won't name her. Of course she wouldn't. Not yet. But she suddenly abandoned me when I stopped letting her control my decisions." My hands shook. The memories returned instantly. Thousands of messages. My workplace being called, Mom crying, Dad's final phone call. For several seconds, I couldn't breathe. Then I remembered where I was. Different apartment, different life, different Amara. I saved the recording. Then I saw something that made my fear disappear. A comment appeared. "Didn't you literally post last month, thanking your roommate for paying for your hair?" Sienna froze, only for half a second, then the comment disappeared. Blocked. I stared at the screen. Someone remembered. And suddenly, I realized something important. In my first life, I had waited until everyone believed Sienna before trying to defend myself. This time, she didn't control the story yet. I opened my evidence folder, receipts, transfers, messages, screenshots. And the recording from tonight, I wasn't going online to fight her. That was exactly what she wanted. I wasn't going to scream louder. I was going to become impossible to lie about. The next morning, I walked into work early. Elias was already there. He looked up from his computer. "How's the new apartment?" "Quiet? Good quiet?" "The best kind." He smiled, then his expression became serious. "Actually, I wanted to ask you something." "What?" He glanced around before lowering his voice. "Did you log into the company system last night?" My stomach dropped. "No." "You're sure?" I was home. He turned his monitor toward me. There was my employee ID, my username, and a login timestamp, 2216. Someone had accessed company files using my account. The same thing that would eventually help destroy my career in my first life. Except it wasn't supposed to happen for another 2 years. I stared at the screen, then I remembered Sienna standing beside my unlocked laptop, looking for a charger. She hadn't been looking for a charger. I looked at Elias. "What files did they open?" His face became serious. "That's the problem." He clicked the activity log. My stomach twisted when I saw the folder name. Executive Events, Private Client Records. And suddenly, I remembered where I had seen that gold card. The night before I died, it had been sitting inside the car of one of the senior executives at my company, a man Sienna had always claimed she had never met. I stared at the login record on Elias's computer, 2216, my employee account, private client files. The same pattern that had destroyed my career in my first life. Only now it was happening early. "Can you tell where the login came from?" I asked. Elias shook his head. "Not without IT. Please don't report it yet." He frowned. "Amara, someone accessed confidential files under your name." "I know." "Then why wouldn't we report it?" "Because I needed to know who was behind it, and because if I accused Sienna without proof, she would immediately turn herself into the victim. I just need one day." Elias studied me. "You know something. I suspect something. That's different. Exactly." He sighed. "One day? Thank you." As I walked away, my hands were shaking. Sienna had already started, and this time, I wasn't waiting for her to finish. That afternoon, I changed every password again. Then I called my parents. "Are you too busy tonight?" Dad laughed. "Your mother has been trying to convince me to reorganize the garage, so yes, I'm extremely busy." I smiled. "I want to talk to you about something serious." That evening, I told them about Sienna. Not the rebirth, not their deaths, just the truth about the money and the online posts. Mom looked horrified. "You paid for all those treatments?" I looked down. I had trouble saying no. Dad reached across the table. "Being kind doesn't mean you have to become someone's wallet. I know that now." Then I made them promise me something. "If Sienna ever posts about me, don't respond." Dad frowned. "But please," my voice cracked, "no defending me online. No arguing with strangers, nothing." Mom squeezed my hand. "We promise." For the first time since waking up, I felt like I could breathe. 2 days later, Sienna posted again. This time, she didn't mention me. She didn't need to. Some people will never understand how expensive it is to build a modeling career. Underneath was a photograph from an exclusive beauty clinic. I zoomed in. There it was, the gold VIP card. I searched the clinic. Their treatment started at hundreds of dollars. Some cost thousands. Sienna supposedly couldn't afford groceries. So, who was paying? I called the clinic. A woman answered, "Lumera Aesthetics, Priya speaking." I hesitated. "Hi, I'm trying to confirm a payment I made previously for Sienna Vale." There was a pause. "For privacy reasons, I can't discuss another client's account." "Of course. Understood." Before I hung up, Priya said something strange. "If you're concerned about charges to your own card, I recommend checking your statements carefully." Her tone changed slightly on the word. Carefully, I froze. Why? I can't say anything else. Then she ended the call. I checked 3 years of bank records from my first life, as best as I could reconstruct them from memory and old emails. Then I checked my current statements, hair, nails, facials, lashes, skin treatments, hundreds here, thousands there. But something didn't make sense. Sienna had been getting more treatments than I remembered paying for. Then Elias texted me. Can we talk? We met at a cafe near work. He slid a printed sheet toward me. I checked something. My stomach tightened. What? The files accessed through your account. I looked down. Several executives' names were listed. One stood out immediately. Derek Cole, Senior Director. The same man whose car I remembered from my first life. The same gold card, the same man Sienna claimed she had never met. Amara? Elias was watching me. You look like you've seen a ghost. Maybe I had, because suddenly, a memory returned. 2 weeks before my death, Sienna had screamed at me during an argument. You were useful until you started asking questions. At the time, I thought she meant money. Now, I wasn't so sure. That night, I made a mistake. I messaged Sienna. Do you know Derek Cole? She replied almost immediately. Who? I should have stopped. Instead, I pushed someone from my company. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Finally never heard of him. My stomach dropped, because less than 10 minutes later, Sienna deleted the photograph from the beauty clinic. The one with the gold card. I stared at my phone. I had scared her. Worse, I had warned her. Then, another message arrived. Amira, seriously, you need to stop obsessing over me. It's getting creepy. I didn't respond, but the next morning, she posted a video. I haven't wanted to say this publicly, but someone from my past has been monitoring everything I do. My heart sank. She was changing tactics. Now I wasn't the unsupportive roommate, I was the obsessed one. Comments immediately appeared. Block her, go to the police. She's jealous of you, I saved everything. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Amara? It was Priya from the clinic. Her voice was low. I probably shouldn't be calling you. My heart started racing. What's wrong? I remembered your name after we spoke. Silence. Then she said, you aren't the person who's been paying for most of Sienna Vale's recent appointments. I stood completely still. What? Someone else has. Who? I can't give you confidential account information. Then why are you calling me? Another pause. Because the person paying told us you were his personal assistant. My blood ran cold. I never authorized anyone to use my name. I thought you should know. Before she hung up, I asked one final question. Priya, was the person paying named Derek? Silence. She didn't answer, she didn't have to. I sat down slowly. Sienna had never been broke, not really. My money had only been the beginning. I had spent years believing she needed me because she couldn't afford her dream, but she hadn't been building a modeling career. She had been building connections, and somehow, my workplace was part of it. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Elias. We have a bigger problem. T found another login under your account. This one downloaded files. I stared at the message. Then another appeared. Management wants to speak to you tomorrow morning. In my first life, it had taken years for Sienna to ruin my career. In this life, she was trying to do it in less than a month. I walked into the meeting expecting the worst. My manager was there. So was I, and sitting at the end of the table was Derek Cole. The moment I saw him, memories from my first life came rushing back. His car, the gold VIP card. Sienna claiming she had never met him, Derek smiled politely. Amara, we need to discuss some unusual activity on your account. I know. I placed my phone on the table, and I believe someone stole my login information. His smile disappeared for half a second. Good. I wasn't the frightened woman from my first life. I had already changed my passwords, documented the strange logins, and saved proof that Sienna had accessed my laptop. IT confirmed something important. The suspicious downloads came from a device I had never used before. I wasn't cleared completely, but I wasn't fired either. An investigation began. When the meeting ended, Derek stopped me. Be careful who you trust, Amara. I looked directly at him. I've recently learned that lesson. That evening, Elias walked me to my car. You handled that better than I expected. I've had practice. He frowned. What does that mean? Long story. He smiled. Maybe you can tell me over dinner. I looked at him. Are you asking me out? Very badly, apparently. For the first time in weeks, I laughed. Okay. Then my phone buzzed. Sienna, you really need to stop talking about me. I hadn't contacted her since my last message. Then she sent a screenshot. It showed messages supposedly written by me. Sienna will never make it as a model. I'm going to make sure everyone knows what she's really like. They were fake. Before I could respond, she posted them publicly. My stomach dropped. The cyberbullying began almost immediately. People called me jealous, controlling, obsessed. But this time, I didn't argue online. I saved everything. Dates, screenshots, messages, threats, fake accounts. Then I made backups. The next morning, Elias called me, "Don't come upstairs yet." Why? Someone reported me. My stomach tightened. For what? Stealing confidential information. I closed my eyes. Sienna had changed the game. She couldn't destroy me easily anymore, so she was attacking the person helping me. That was my mistake. I had contacted her about Derek too soon. I had shown her I knew something. Now she knew Elias and I were working together. I'm sorry. Amara, this isn't your fault, but I knew better. Knowing the future had made me careless. I thought I was always ahead. I wasn't. That afternoon, I received another message from Sienna. Look what you've done. Underneath was a photograph of Elias entering a meeting with management. Then another message. Everyone around you gets hurt eventually. My blood went cold. Those words were too close to what happened in my first life. My parents, my career, my death. I didn't respond. Instead, I added the message to my evidence folder. Then I created a second copy and sent it to my parents for safekeeping. Sienna thought she was frightening me. She didn't understand. Fear was exactly why I'd spent my first life saying yes. This time, fear wasn't going to control me. And if she wanted to turn this into a war, I was finally ready to stop fighting like a people pleaser. By Friday morning, Sienna had turned me into the villain again. My phone was full of messages. Jealous roommate, leave Sienna alone. You were controlling her with money. Then someone posted the name of my workplace. The second I saw it, my hands started shaking. For a moment, I was back in my first life. Watching strangers find my family, watching my reputation disappear. Hearing my father's final phone call, I immediately called Mum. Have you or Dad responded to anyone? No. Please keep it that way, Dad shouted from the background. I promised, Amara. I closed my eyes in relief. This was already different. My parents knew what was happening, and this time I was going to protect them. I didn't respond to Sienna online. Instead, I saved everything. Every threat, every fake screenshot, every post, every account tagging my workplace. Then something unexpected happened. One of Sienna's followers messaged me. I think you need this. Attached was an old screenshot from Sienna's page. It showed her freshly done hair and nails. The caption read, "When your best friend believes in your dream, enough to spoil you." Thank you, Amara. I stared at it. She had deleted the original, but someone had saved it. Then, another person found an old post. My roommate paid for my casting photos because she's literally an angel. I almost laughed. Sienna was now claiming I had used money to control her. But months earlier, she had publicly thanked me for supporting her. People started noticing the contradiction. So, Sienna changed tactics. Again, that afternoon, she uploaded another tearful video. I never said Amara didn't help me. She wiped her eyes. I said her help came with conditions. Then she showed more fake messages supposedly written by me. Messages saying I wanted her modeling career to fail. Messages saying she would be nothing without me. None of them were real. The old me would have immediately gone online to defend myself. This time, I didn't. I saved the video. Then I saved the screenshots. Sienna thought she was creating evidence against me. She was actually creating evidence against herself. That evening, Elias came over. He had been temporarily removed from sensitive projects while the company investigated the accusation against him. I'm sorry, I said. This happened because you helped me. Elias shook his head. This happened because someone doesn't want us looking too closely. He opened his laptop. I checked my account history. Several suspicious login attempts appeared around the same time someone had accessed my account. Then he showed me the files downloaded under my name. Private corporate events, investor information, guest lists, client schedules. I stared at the screen. Suddenly, something clicked. Sienna always asked about my work events. Elias looked at me. What did she ask? Who would be attending? My stomach tightened. Whether photographers would be there. What else? Sometimes she'd ask whether models or promotional staff were being hired. Elias leaned back. She wasn't only using you for beauty treatments? No. I thought about the expensive clothes. The clinic, the gold VIP card. Derek, she was using me to get access to people. The next morning, Priya from the beauty clinic called me. Sienna came in yesterday. What did she want? Her old payment records. My heart started racing. Priya continued. She specifically asked whether payment information could be permanently deleted. Can it? No. I smiled. Then Priya lowered her voice. The man who paid for several of her appointments contacted us too. Derek? Silence. She couldn't confirm it. She didn't need to. Then Priya said something that changed everything. Amara, stop investigating this alone. What do you mean? If someone is using your name, accessing your work accounts, and harassing you online, document everything and report it properly. She was right. In my first life, I had waited until my life was already destroyed. I wasn't making that mistake again. That afternoon, I went to the police. I brought screenshots of the cyberbullying, the fake messages, the threats, the suspicious activity connected to my work account, and Sienna's message saying everyone around me eventually got hurt. I didn't exaggerate anything. I simply gave them the evidence and made an official report. When I walked outside, I felt lighter. Nothing had magically disappeared, but now there was a record Sienna couldn't simply rewrite everything later. That evening, she called me repeatedly. I didn't answer. Then the voicemail started. You went to the police? Saved. You're trying to ruin my modeling career because you're jealous. Saved. If you keep doing this, you're going to regret it. Saved. Then came the message that changed everything. Sienna sent me a furious voice note. Derek already told you to leave this alone, Amara. I froze. I played it again. Derek already told you to leave this alone. My heart started pounding. Sienna had publicly claimed she didn't know. Derek had told management. He barely knew who Sienna was, yet somehow they had been discussing me. I immediately sent the recording to Elias. He called within seconds. Save the original. Already did. This could be important. It proves they know each other. It proves there's a connection. He paused. But we still need something they can't explain away. And I knew he was right. Derek could claim Sienna had learned his name from me. Sienna could invent another story. We needed something stronger. The next morning, Priya called again. Her voice sounded nervous. Remember the gold VIP card? Yes. Every card has a unique membership number. I sat upright. The one Sienna uses wasn't originally issued to her. My heart stopped. Who was it issued to? I can't personally give you confidential records. My excitement disappeared. But your company has made a formal request connected to its investigation. I slowly stood. And those records will show when the card was issued. How long ago? Priya paused. Long before Sienna claims she ever met the person who gave it to her. I didn't need another explanation. Derek. The gold card I had noticed before my death. The same card I had seen around Sienna. The tiny detail nobody else would have cared about. That card could finally prove they had been connected long before either of them admitted it. My phone buzzed. A message from Sienna. You should have stayed out of my life. I stared at it for several seconds, then saved it to my evidence folder. In my first life, Sienna destroyed me because I kept saying yes. Yes to the treatments. Yes to the money. Yes to every excuse. This time, one simple word had changed everything. No. And now, Sienna had no idea that the evidence capable of destroying her biggest lie was already on its way. 3 days later, I received a call from management. Amara, we need you to come in. I knew immediately. The clinic records had arrived. When I entered the conference room, Derek was already sitting there. Elias was there too, so were 2 senior managers and someone from HR. Derek looked completely calm. That confidence almost made me nervous. Almost one of the managers placed several documents on the table. Mr. Cole, you previously stated that you had no personal relationship with Sienna Vale, correct? And you, Amara, Believe otherwise? Yes. Derek smiled. Based on what? A social media argument with your former roommate? I didn't respond. The manager opened the file. No. She looked directly at Derek, based on financial records. His smile disappeared. The gold VIP membership card Sienna had been using was originally connected to Derek. Not recently, not after Sienna became successful, more than a year earlier, and the clinic's records showed multiple treatments had been paid for through accounts connected to him. Derek immediately tried explaining it. I've helped many aspiring models. Then Elias spoke. So, you do know her? Silence. Derek realized his mistake. I've met her professionally. But you said you didn't know her. I said we didn't have a personal relationship. The excuses were already changing, just like Sienna's. Then management revealed something even worse. The company had traced the suspicious downloads. Someone had been collecting private information about corporate events, guest lists, investors, clients, and schedules. Sienna had used that information to get herself into exclusive events and connect with wealthy people who could advance her modeling career. Derek had been helping her. And when suspicious activities started appearing, they needed someone to blame. Me. The roommate who already had access to the company, the woman whose laptop Sienna could easily reach, the people pleaser who rarely questioned anything. I finally understood the whole plan. In my first life, Sienna hadn't kept me around because she loved me. She kept me around because I was useful. My money paid for her appearance, my job gave her connections, and my personality made me the perfect person to blame. Derek was suspended immediately. The investigation continued beyond what I personally knew, but the evidence was enough to clear both Elias and me of the accusations connected to the suspicious downloads. When Sienna realized what was happening, she panicked, and she did what people like Sienna always did when they were cornered. She blamed someone else. She went online and claimed Derek had manipulated her. Then she claimed I had misunderstood everything. Then she deleted videos. Then she posted new ones. Then she deleted those too. But deleting something doesn't mean it never existed. Not when people have screenshots, not when companies have records. And definitely not when you've already been reported to the police. The cyberbullying against me became part of the evidence. The fake screenshots were examined, the threatening messages were documented, even the voice message where she mentioned Derek was saved. For once, Sienna couldn't cry her way out of everything. A few weeks later, I saw one final video from her. She was sitting in her apartment without the perfect lighting she usually used. I've lost opportunities because of lies being spread about me. I almost laughed. She still couldn't say it. She couldn't say I did this to myself. Her modeling opportunities started disappearing. Not because I contacted agencies I didn't. Not because I launched an online revenge campaign. I didn't. Brands simply didn't want to be connected to someone involved in an ongoing scandal over fake evidence, harassment, and dishonest claims. That was the best part. I didn't need to destroy. Sienna, I simply stopped protecting her from the consequences of her own decisions. One evening, there was a knock on my apartment door. It was Elias. He was holding 2 coffees. I looked suspiciously at him. Is one of those going to end up on your shirt again? He laughed. I've learned to keep a safe distance. I let him inside. We sat near the window talking until the sky became dark. Eventually, Elias looked at me. Can I ask you something? Sure. How did you know? My heart skipped. Know what? That something was wrong before any of us did. I looked down at my coffee. There was no way I could tell him the truth. How could I explain that I'd already watched my entire life collapse once? I think sometimes you get a second chance before you realize it's a second chance. He looked confused. I smiled. That's the best explanation you're getting. He laughed. Fine. Then he reached across the table and took my hand. And for once, I didn't overthink what someone wanted from me. I simply enjoyed the moment. The biggest gift of my second life wasn't revenge. It was getting my parents back. Months later, Mom and Dad came over for dinner. Dad complained about my tiny kitchen. Mom brought enough food to feed 12 people. And I spent most of the evening staring at them, alive, laughing, arguing about whether Dad had put too much salt in something. Mom noticed me staring. "What?" "Nothing." She smiled. "You're doing that strange thing again." "What strange thing?" "Looking at us like you haven't seen us in years." My eyes filled with tears. I hugged her. She laughed. "Amara." Then Dad joined us, and standing between them, I finally understood something. I thought I had been reborn to get revenge on Sienna. I hadn't. I had been given another chance to save everything I lost because I was too afraid to stand up for myself, my family, my career, my future, and myself. A year later, I started my own event planning business. Small at first, then Bigger Elias became more than the man who helped me expose the truth. He became the man who reminded me that support shouldn't come with manipulation. And I finally learned something my first life had tried desperately to teach me. Being kind doesn't mean saying yes to everyone. Setting boundaries doesn't make you selfish. And anyone who only loves you when you're useful to them doesn't love you at all. Sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't screaming. It isn't humiliation. It isn't destroying someone's life. Sometimes it's simply stepping away, protecting yourself and letting karma finish what they started. Sienna once told me I wasn't supporting her dream because I refused to pay for her beauty treatments. She was right about one thing. I stopped supporting her. I stopped paying her bills. I stopped accepting her guilt trips. I stopped letting her use me. And most importantly, I stopped saying yes when every part of me wanted to say no. It took dying once for me to understand that. Thankfully, I didn't need a third life to learn it again. Now, I have a question for you. If you were in my position and your best friend or roommate expected you to keep paying for their lifestyle, then turned everyone against you the moment you finally said no, what would you do? Would you expose them immediately, walk away quietly, or let their own lies eventually catch up with them? Let me know what you would have done. And thank you so much for listening to my story. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel for more amazing stories like this. Your subscription really helps support the channel and allows me to keep bringing you more amazing stories like this. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next story.